What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Oak Tree Football Channel, and welcome to another 2020 college football schedule breakdown and record prediction. Today, I'm going to be moving on to some Big Ten schools. For the next few days, I'm going to be making my predictions for Big Ten schools. I just finished SEC schools, and I've already done a lot of the Big Ten schools, but one I have not done, which I will be doing today, is the Purdue Boilermakers. Last year was not great for the Boilermakers. They finished 4-8, and it's really been a while since they were a really good team. I mean, they were okay a few years ago. They went 6-7 2 years ago and 7-6 before the year before that, but the years before that, it was just not good. They consistently were a very bad team, and last year was not great either, so that's not good for them, but I think it's possible they have a very good season this year. Surprised a lot of people. Jake Plummer, their quarterback, was not great in some of the playtime he played last year. He was okay, but nothing great. But I expect a big step up from him. Part of that is because they're getting Rondale Moore back. I think Moore's one of the best wide receivers in college football. 2 years ago, he was one of the best wide receivers, one of the most explosive players in college football. He's really what you want from a wide receiver. His build, his play style, it's what you want from a wide receiver. He definitely has the potential to be a very good NFL player one day. I think he's one of the best wide receivers in college football right now. He played a bit last year, but missed a lot, and was still able to have a pretty good season. But he should be back this year, and also because they're getting another great receiver, David Bell, who had over 1,000 receiving yards last year. This is a team that could seriously be one of the best receiving corps in college football, especially if Plummer takes a step up. They also have some very underrated players on their defense, in my opinion, so I think it can be a really good year for Purdue this year. They went 4-8 last year, like I said earlier, and they had the 33rd best recruiting class in the country. They start off the season with a tough game where they play on the road at Nebraska. Nebraska is a pretty good team, in my opinion. I expect Nebraska to have a pretty good year. They're led by quarterback Adrian Martinez, who hasn't really lived up to the hype these past few years, but I think he can be pretty good this season. So Nebraska is a very underrated team that you have to look out for, and it's definitely possible that Nebraska wins this game, and it isn't even close. This is a home game for Nebraska. I do think Nebraska is a bit better than Purdue. I still think that Purdue's a very good team, but I still think Nebraska is better. This is a home game for Nebraska. This is a great opportunity for Nebraska to start off the season with a win. I think it's possible Purdue wins, but I think Nebraska being at home, I think it's going to be enough for them to help them get the victory. I think that potentially Purdue can make it close, but I think Nebraska is the better team, and it's a home game for them, like I said, so I'm going to go with Nebraska in this one. Week 2, they have a pretty tough out-of-conference game where they play Memphis. Memphis is a pretty good team in the American Athletic, but I do think they're going to take a tiny step back this year. They still have some really, really good talent, such as quarterback Brady White and running back Kenny Gainwell, who has potential to be one of the best running backs in college football. And Brady White is one of the best quarterbacks in the American Athletic Conference. Memphis is definitely one of the best teams in the American Athletic. I do think there are some better teams because they, of course, are losing their head coach, but it should still be a very good year for Memphis this season. Probably an 8-4, 9-3 season, in my opinion. But this is going to be a tough one for Purdue, but it's also going to be a tough one for Memphis. It really, really helps that Purdue's at home in this one. So I think I'm going to go with Purdue, just because of that reason. I do think Purdue is a bit better than Memphis. I think Memphis could easily win this game, though. But I think because Purdue is at home, I think that they will be able to get the win. Maybe it will be close, potentially. But I still think Purdue will win. Week 3, Air Force. This is a game that it's really under the radar. Air Force is a very underrated team, in my opinion, and Air Force definitely has a lot of talent that is really going unnoticed for a lot of people. So I think Air Force could be pretty good. One of the better group of 5 schools, in my opinion, this season. This could be a tough one for Purdue as well. It's another tough out-of-conference game. Luckily for Purdue, they are at home for this one, though, which is really, really big for them, in my opinion. And I think that they should be able to win because I do think they are better than Air Force. But, I think Purdue might struggle early in the season because Rondale Moore is coming back from injury. Maybe Plummer struggles earlier in the year. But I still expect it to be a pretty I think they'll be fine early in the season. Nothing special, though, which is why I see this being a very, very tough game. But I think I'm going to go with Purdue. Week 4, they play Boston College on the road at Boston College. This is another tough out-of-conference game. They have a lot of tough out-of-conference games this season. I feel by some people Boston College being a tiny bit overrated this year because they're losing a lot. they're losing a lot of talent, and it's going to be tough for them to bounce back after losing so much, in my opinion. The most important player they lost was A.J. Dillon, of course, now in the Green Bay Packers. He was basically their entire offense last year. They had the best running game in the ACC. He's gone. That loss is going to be huge. It's going to hurt them. I don't think Boston College will be great this year. This could be a close one, though. It's a home game for Boston College. It could go either way, really. A lot of Purdue's game, especially early in the year, really could go either way. I think I'm going to go with Purdue. I definitely think Purdue's more talented than Boston College. Boston College is at home, but I think I'm going to still go with Purdue to get the win on the road. Week 5, they have their bye. This is not a well-placed bye. I mean, it's coming off a road game, and it could be a pretty tough road game, but it's going into a very easy game, which I'll get to in a second. And it splits the season not in half, but with 4 games and then 8 games. It's not what you want. Not at all. Just not a good place bye for Purdue. Week 6, they play Rutgers at home. They should have no problem here. Rutgers just is not a good team. It's just that simple. Rutgers just is not a good team, and I really do think Purdue will easily win this game. It's a home game for them as well. They're coming off a bye as well. They should have absolutely no problem, and they should beat Rutgers. Week 7, on the road at Illinois. Illinois is a pretty underrated team. Illinois could actually be pretty good this year. I don't think Illinois will be anything special, but I definitely think it's possible they can be a pretty good team. This could be a tough one for Purdue. They're on the road against a team that could be pretty tough to play against. I mean, they are coming off a pretty easy game, but, it could still be a lot tougher than some people might expect for Purdue. I still think Purdue will win it. I do think Purdue's more talented than Illinois, but it could be an interesting game to watch, a very, very interesting game to watch, in my opinion, and it should be a fun one, honestly. I think I'm going to go with Purdue. Would not be surprised if Illinois can get the upset, though. I would say it's an upset. Even though Illinois is at home, I do think Purdue's better, so I would say it's an upset. Week 8, they play on the road at Michigan. This is going to be a tough one because Michigan is normally a pretty good team, but they have a big problem. Quarterback. Quarterback is a huge problem for them. I just don't believe in anything they have at that position. They had some chances to go and get some transfers. They didn't do that, and I just think they have a huge problem right now at the quarterback position. And that's what I really think is going to, take them away from them from being a seriously very good team, or even an elite team if you want to call them that, because Michigan has a lot of talent all over the field, really, except quarterback, in my opinion. With a better quarterback, Michigan could be a serious contender, potentially even in college football, not just in the Big Ten. But I still think Michigan will win this one. It's a home game for Michigan, and Michigan is better than Purdue. But I think it'll be close just because Michigan's lack of a quarterback. I mean, they'll probably have quarterbacks figured out at this point in the year, more figured out than earlier, but I just don't believe in what they have. I mean, I think we could get surprised by whoever plays that quarterback for Michigan and if they're going to be good. I just don't think it'll be anything great. I still think Michigan is going to win this game, but I think it'll be a lot closer than expected. Week 9, Northwestern. I think they should win this one. Northwestern is a bit underrated in my opinion. They're bringing in quarterback Peyton Ramsey from Indiana, which is going to be big for them, but I still expect them not to be great. So this is a home game for Purdue. I think Purdue should get a pretty easy win in this one. Week 10, this is one of the games I just don't see them winning. On the road at Minnesota. Minnesota is one of the best teams in the Big Ten, in my opinion. Somewhere like 3rd or 4th, in my opinion. They're just a very, very good team. I don't see Purdue winning this one. It's a road game. I don't see Purdue winning. I'm taking Minnesota. Week 11, I don't see them winning this one either. Though it is a home game, it's against Wisconsin. Wisconsin is one of the best teams in the Big Ten, just like Minnesota. Incredibly, incredibly talented. Jack Cohen's their quarterback. He's going to be interesting to watch this year. But Wisconsin has so much talent. And, I mean, they should be a great team again this year. I really don't see why not. They'll probably win the division and probably go to the Big Ten championship, in my opinion. So, I mean, maybe Purdue can keep this one close, but I just don't see them winning, in my opinion. Week 12, they play Iowa. This is going to be a very interesting game because I think Purdue and Iowa are pretty similarly talented. I feel Iowa is being a bit overhyped by some people, but I don't expect Iowa to be anything special. I think it'll be a down year for them just because of how much talent they've lost. I think they'll be okay. But nothing special. This is going to be a close one. It's going to be an interesting one, but I'm going to go with Purdue just because of the fact that they are at home and they probably have figured a lot more things out at this point in the year. Early in the year, there are a lot of question marks, but at this point in the year, they should have figured things out and they should be able to be able to win this game, in my opinion. I think they're good enough to do that, and I'm going to give them a win. And then they end their season in Week 13, where they're playing the Indiana Hoosiers. This is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a very interesting one. I think Indiana is pretty talented this year. With Michael Penix Jr. will be their quarterback. I think he'll struggle early in the year, but he should be completely figured out at this point in the year, in my opinion. This is going to be a close one. It's going to be an entertaining one to watch. Two very talented teams. Not very talented, but pretty talented. Two similarly talented teams going up against each other. It's a tough one to predict. I think I'm going to go with Indiana because they're the home team. I think that's going to be big for them. I think Purdue could definitely have a chance to win. I think it's going to be a close one, but I think I'm going to go with Indiana. So now, as I always do, I'll go through each game once again, and I'll give my prediction for I think we'll win. I think Purdue will lose to Nebraska in Week 1. I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a very interesting one, but I'm going to give them a loss. I think they'll beat Memphis, could lose there. I think they'll beat Air Force, they could lose there. I think they'll beat Boston College, they could lose there. I think they'll beat Rutgers easily after their bye. I do think they'll beat Illinois. I do think they'll lose to Michigan. I think they'll beat Northwestern, lose to Minnesota, lose to Wisconsin. I think they'll beat Iowa, and I think they'll lose to Indiana to have a record of 7-5 on the year. I actually originally had this team at 8-4, but I think they will drop one more game somewhere. I feel that they are just such an underrated team this year. Purdue, I mean, a lot of people are saying they'll probably have another 4-8 season. I just don't think that will happen. I think this is a team that is extremely underrated, and they really should have a big year, in my opinion. In my opinion, they will 100% lose at Minnesota and against Wisconsin, and most likely at Michigan. And then they'll probably lose. They'll probably either split or lose both. I don't see them beating both Nebraska and Indiana because those are both road games. It's a tough schedule for them. It's a tough out-of-conference schedule and a tough in-conference schedule. There's only two games I really definitely see them winning. That's Northwestern and Rutgers. But in my opinion, they'll probably beat Air Force. I think Memphis can be close, but I think they'll win. I think they'll beat Boston College, and I think they'll be able to beat Illinois. Those could be losses, so worst-case scenario is probably not great. I think it's possible Purdue has a really bad season. I just don't think it'll happen with the talent they have. I think they'll be good enough to go about 7-5 or 8-4. Maybe they'll go 6-6, but I feel strongly that they will make it to a bowl game this year. But these are my thoughts on the Boilermakers for this year. What are your guys' thoughts? Tell me in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you are new around here, feel free to subscribe for more daily NFL and college football content. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I will see you guys in the next video.